Hey, welcome back to YOMO, a year of magical learning. Today we are in part 3 of 5 of one of our top favorite book, the book called Humankind by Rutger Bregman. And Chris is exciting to talk to you about a topic that is dear to his heart. So I'll let Chris tell you about it.
Yeah. So reflection 3 of 5. As I had mentioned at the beginning of this one, this is one of the first books that I let myself, kind of just break the rules a little bit, and kind of came out of left field, and I was like, this is just a really great book. So I'm gonna absorb the moment in the moment, and just write my feelings and thoughts about what it made me think about. So that was how we got to 5 different reflections. And reflection 3, a quick recap of the book. It's called Humankind: A Hopeful History. It's about looking at humans as the core of us as kind, loving, compassionate, caring people versus the narrative that's usually out there in the world of humans being dog eat dog, survival of the fittest. Like we'll kill each other. When you strip away society, like what are we left with? Is it kindness, or is it anger, mean, pain, whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the bad.
Yes.
And this is a hopeful history. So so that's what the book's about. And this particular reflection I titled as carrots and sticks. The carrot and stick methodology will never work long term. Try the human approach. So this is a near and dear topic to my heart. And actually, ironically, we were just talking about this right before, which is why I kind of paused True and said, hey, let's just talk about it in the reflection itself. So here's what I mean by the carrot and stick method will never work long term. So my entire career, I've worked in various sales, account management, sales leadership roles, and that entire world, and I'm still in it. And that entire world is 100% performance based. It is a culture of carrots and sticks. You either do great work and you get paraded around as a top producer, and you're everybody's friend, and everybody wants to talk to you, and your leadership loves you, and you get showered with money and trips and spiffs and dinners and awards, and you name it, gift cards, whatever. Like the rewards are always going to be there in this culture, in this particular culture, and that is how we determine who is the best. It's whoever is getting the most awards, winning the most carrots, and then if you suck, you get fired. Like, I mean, it's basically that. Like that's the stick end of it, right? It's either you're succeeding and thriving and winning awards, or you're slowly moving your way out the door and getting fired, because like that's the stick, right? So everything in my personal career has been based off of that. That is the only environment that I have ever seen work in the sales world. And honestly, I'm getting ready to start my new job as a sales leader at a new organization. So this is a really timely topic. But that is, to my knowledge, I mean, I've never seen anything different. And I've never heard of anything different. But that is, to my knowledge, the classic sales model, I guess in this world. And the reason being is, like, those carrots and sticks will give you short-term bursts. Like, that is proven. And short-term bursts are what people care about. The growth, you got to feed the growth monster at these businesses. The investors want their return. So therefore, people constantly are getting either cracked a whip with a stick, or they're getting rewarded with a carrot, as we continue to take short little bursts and spurts, of hitting whatever that quarterly goal is, that monthly goal, that annual goal, so we can continue to feed that growth monster, and the cycle continues over and over and over again. But here's the thing, and I can definitively say this without a doubt: I have never, ever, not ever once in my entire professional sales career ever worked harder because because of the compensation that I was going to get, or because of a spiff that was out there, or because of a trip or a reward, or a gift card, or something along those lines that was supposed to be incentivizing me to want to work harder and do my job better. I can definitively say that is never ever factored into my mindset whenever I've been performing at my job in my entire career. And trust me, I've won a lot of awards, and I've been the top producer. I've gone on many, annual trips and things like that. Like, and it's all nice. Like, and I enjoy it. Like, don't get me wrong, but that has never, ever been the reason as to why I worked hard or didn't work hard in that particular role, job, quarter, month, whatever it was. Right. Like, so I'm going to go ahead and say that definitively right now. However, one of the things that ironically that I will work my ass off for and will work harder for every single day is waking up 2 hours before I even start to work to go write a reflection, so I can go post it on a blog, so I can go talk to my co-founder about it after work, so I can go pay for tennis tournaments and go travel myself, and read. I looked at my Audible account the other day. I'll look at it right now. What do you think month, and this isn't all of everything, right? This is just from Audible. So what do you think my total listening time is since Amelia, since this whole journey began? Like, what do you think because I didn't even have an Audible account until
So you talking about like
total amount of time,
like total book hours or listening hours?
Listening hours.
Okay. If you say that's 2 years, right? It's
like 2.5. I mean, almost
2.5
3
years,
now.
right? Yeah, 2 years, and from April to now, it's like 2.5 years, right? So I would say, estimate, I would say, do 300 hours.
Oh no, that's not even close. Like, I mean, try like 6x of that.
6x.
I'm at 1 month, 29 days, 15 hours, and 52 minutes on my Audible account. So I don't know how many hours are in a month. I'm almost at 2 months, basically.
Okay. Oh, you doing
so that
okay.
is,
Yeah,
it's 730 hours.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's so roughly, let's just say 1,500 hours of Audible listening, plus manual reading of regular books, plus I used this other platform called
Scribble.
What was it called? Yeah, Scribble. No, yeah,
That's
yeah,
Scribble.
I use that for like, I don't know, maybe 20 books or something like that. So so I don't know, add it all up, it's probably like 1,800 hours or something like that, right? Like, and that's, nobody's paid me for
that's a full-time year, full-time working.
Exactly. No, I mean, it really is. I mean, and I do it because I want to do it, because I'm intrinsically motivated by my purpose, values, mission.
And you're paying.
I'm paying for it. Yes, I'm paying. I'm paying to travel.
No one's paying you. You're paying to get the books.
I mean, I paid to publish my first book. And I paid to have it edited, and I paid to have, like, one of my rules these days, actually, and I haven't officially written a reflection about it yet, but I'm about to, is I used to always struggle sometimes of when to make big purchases and when to not make big purchases. And now today I'm almost like, I feel like this is a good golden rule to live by when it comes to, like, what I spend my money on. If it in any way, shape, or form aligns to my values, things that I care about, my mission and my purpose, I don't give a shit what it costs me to go spend money on. I really don't, because it'll be an investment well worth my time. Like, case in point, that tennis ball machine that I bought, that I pondered over for years, and I finally made the decision to go buy it a couple weeks ago, and I've gotten more used to it. I've used it like 2 to 3 times a week, and just had a fucking blast out there. Like, I mean, and it's amazing. I'm really enjoying it, and it gets me out on the courts when I don't have a match to go play, and I can go, just do stuff that I care about, anyway. So, like, it's well worth the investment. So, long story short, yes, not only do I invest so much more time and effort, I pay for these things, like, and someday it may turn into revenue coming back to me, but I don't care, like, because that's not what the point is. The overall moral of this particular reflection is, carrots and sticks will never work, like, long term. It will never work. Like, I mean, the author said something that's a great quote that I loved, was nothing is more powerful in society. Nothing is more powerful than a society of people doing things because they want to.
Isn't that
so
company?
not only It is. It's exactly what it is. I mean, you might as well put that as our tagline.
Yes.
Is nothing is more. You want to drop that into our
Yeah,
truism?
because I mean, I have not read this book in its entirety, and I just started it. You didn't read this book until way into we started the club
Mhm.
meeting. We started club meeting way back. So, but this is exactly what we're trying to build: a
It is.
society where people are doing things because they want to. This is exactly what clubbing is all about. It just happens that we found a book that it said exactly what we wanted to say. It just,
Exactly.
I guess,
That's why I wrote
no,
5 reflections for you. I was like, man, this just fits exactly with what I wanted to do, and I learned so much from it.
yeah.
So the second part of this reflection, though, is not only do I do these things without any carrots or sticks, and I will spend my own money.
Hmm.
Pair if you take that just intrinsic motivation and then you pair it with somebody else and then somebody else and then somebody else that has a
Hmm.
similar
Hmm.
purpose and meaning, the meaningful work that they like to do, and you can build meaningful relations out of it, the results are explosive, right? Like, I mean, when you and I are doing something, like, you look at the totality of all the stuff that we've done together, and you're like, I mean, how many hours of recordings and mentor stuff, and we're at a reflection 120 131 of a podcast we record. Like, I mean, like, you think of all the amount of conversations and L10 meetings we've had, and ideas that we've gone through, and
And,
new
and
business
and
and
the
meetup
beauty
group
of it
stuff.
is that I don't count them, right?
I don't either.
And it's like, you know, we're at 131 just because you told me, because I wouldn't remember. I would say, hey, we're only like, yeah, maybe 20. If you ask me how many hours of Audible, I would say, hey, maybe about 100. But I'd probably be like maybe half of your 1800,
Right.
right?
It's a lot.
Because the thing is, a lot of these things is because we don't count them, and because we don't mind doing this thing, we don't keep score. And
Right.
we don't keep score, the numbers, the result that comes back is astounding.
It's unreal. I
Right.
mean, like, I'm blown away. I look at that number every once in a while. Like, every once in a while, I'll just go check, like, like listening time on Audible, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's almost 2 months of my life. Like, I mean, like two, and we're not talking about, like, oh, I worked for 2 months. No, I mean, this is like 24 hours, start to finish, 2 months. You know what I mean? Like this is like zero. That is straight time of 2 months. I mean, that might be, like you said, 2 years of full-time work or something like that for some other people. And it probably is. I mean, I mean, to be fair, like, I told you the other day, I'm ashamed of this, but like, it's been almost 2.5 months since I've done a damn thing for any employer of mine, because I've been transitioning out of my old job and getting ready to start this new job. And I mean, like, if you want to count up the total amount of time that I've worked, in my actual job, I bet I mean, if you were just looking at just pure minutes of it, I bet it's like 80 hours in like the past 2.5 months, maybe,
Right.
of actual work. It's probably more like 30, if I was if I did a stopwatch clock on when I started working and when I stopped working on these things. Yeah, I mean, that shit'll blow your mind when you go, oh shit, for your real job that you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, you've worked for 30 hours, and your stuff that you don't get paid anything for, you've spent,
Spend way more. I mean, it's the 80
like,
20% rule.
right.
I mean, the thing is
Well, that's a
also,
reflection. Yeah.
the thing is, people get paid a lot of money, and I know the salary that you make, you put you in the top, like top 5-10% of the other earners, and even then, you don't like that job because the
No,
carrots is not enough. It's
right.
never enough.
It's never
I mean,
enough.
it's just one of those things where, when we talk about a person was so stressed out and really get angry and mad because he makes $1 million. The reason why he's mad because his neighbor make 1.1 mil,
Right.
right? So the thing is, the carrots and the sticks, it doesn't work beyond the
Long term.
initial push.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
It
Right.
only say, well, I just need this one thing, and the moment you get that, you start to fade, just like the happiness hypothesis. It
Yep.
detail out, when you win something, right? You get adjusted to the level. You need more. Just like when people are addicted to cocaine or heroin, right? At first, one dose is not enough. You have to
Right.
do double dose and quadruple dose and 8 times and 16 times. You get the picture. But that's
Yep.
the thing is the carrots, like, and the carrot, they only give you like one, whatever carrot they give you. The first time, yeah, it feels great. But the second time, you give the same number of carrots, it doesn't feel so great. And
It doesn't
so
matter.
it's a spiral down. And
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna get, and it gets to a point where in our society today, and this is one of the big, I guess one of the big challenge that company is trying to elucidate is that because people are used to the carrots and sticks, that doesn't work. And because it doesn't work, we see that a lot of people, majority of people, they work in a job that they hate. They don't like their job. They hate their jobs.
Hate it.
I mean,
Hate it.
they hate it. It's
Hate
not like,
it.
oh, it's okay. I
No,
hated my
no,
jobs.
I'm miserable when I wake
Yeah,
up every
most
single
people
day
are
and I
miserable and stressed
right.
out. And the
Right.
thing is, that's, I mean, you look at, so it's not about like how much money someone makes. Because, as an investment banker, you can make 200K. As a venture capitalist, analyst, whatever, you can make like $500,000, but it's so stressful. And these
Sure.
guys only can do, a number of years before they either burn out or they quit. Just one of those things. Just because it's not sustainable.
Yep. Oh
It's
yeah.
not something that they can have a internal drive that goes to do the work because they want to. It has to have something pushing them, and the push, the longer the push, the more power you need to have behind it to keep the same momentum, because it's always gonna get heavier and heavier, and then eventually it doesn't move at all, and so you're not motivated as time goes on.
Yeah.
And the carrots and sticks, for me, it's only initial push that um it lasts like short term, very short. I mean, I'm talking
So,
about very, very short. A lot of people, like, they start hating their job after 6 months.
oh, for sure. So I'll give you a great example. The first job that I had out of school, I was in a management development program at this company called Dexter Axle. It
Hmm.
was I had to move to northern Indiana, so I moved like 3 hours away from my family and from friends and whatever, to a place I'd never really been before, and didn't really know much about, to be honest with you. And I took this job, and this it was like a rotational job where I would spend 10 weeks in each functional area of the business, shadowing the VPs and directors of whatever the department is. So whether there was quality assurance or frontline management on like the plant level, or sales and marketing, or engineering, or whatever it may be, procurement. I would spend 10 weeks in each of these areas, and I would do these like continual improvement projects, like Six Sigma projects and stuff like that. So I would go in as like fresh eyes. So my job was to learn,
Hmm.
absorb, like do projects and things like that needed to be done for the leaders of these departments, and then pick one project after a couple of weeks that I wanted to spend the next like 2 months on or whatever, to try to make an impact of an area that I saw. And then my job at the end of all that, every 10 weeks, was to go present to the executive team, what I did, what we found, and then, what I learned, and move on to the next rotation. Right. So it was a really fun job. I loved it. I didn't get paid very much at all, but I really loved it. I mean, I got to experience all these new things. I was learning all the time. I was doing projects that were just from my own creativity. I installed a call center, this is back in 2007, 2008, before like VoIP and a lot of those other technologies. I installed a digital call center, that I developed the entire workflow. I figured out like what time savings was, went through pilot projects, like installed the software, managed it remotely with this company in Canada, and completely transformed. It was amazing. This one lady, I forget her name, but they had this inside order entry department at one of these plants. She had never taken a lunch break in her, like, she'd worked there for 20 years. They were so busy fielding phone calls and faxes all day long, and orders coming in from all over the fucking place. And they were chained to their keyboard, but answering the call from some other supplier that needed something, like, all day long. Literally, this place was like a zoo. There was papers everywhere, faxes coming in all over the place. And after I got done with this whole entire thing, it was because all these calls kept coming in, and the front desk secretary was just like, "Oh yeah, this person's lights off. I'm just gonna throw it on." So that was when I got the idea to like try to install like a like a call center, so I presented this to the executive team, and then for the next 8 weeks, they let me go do it. And by the end of the whole rotation, I even got in on the job with them, and I was doing it myself. And like, I shit you not, this lady said the nicest thing ever to me. She goes, Chris, I'm not even joking. Like, I was a little hesitant to this whole entire idea at first, but she was like, this is the first time, I shit you not, that I've taken a lunch break, a full hour lunch break, where like I could actually just go take a lunch break in my entire career. Right. Cause like she was like, it was amazing. They couldn't even go to the bathroom. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, they could not even leave their desk to go to the bathroom, or they would miss like 3 phone calls. And it was unreal. Anyway, I give this example to say, I was making shit money. I think my salary was like
an intern level.
Like, it was like 35,000 or something like that, I think was my salary. I think I had like some bonus opportunities where I could make like 42 or something. No, it was 37. It was $37,000 was my first like, role. I was having a blast doing this stuff. I was learning every day. I was helping people. I was growing. I was seeing things completely differently, and I was able to use my creativity all over the place. Next job that I ended up taking is I ended up moving back to Indy, and this is at the height of the economic downturn. A friend of mine worked at this place called Angie's List, and I'd always, like, I grew up in a household. My dad's a sales engineer, my mom's a purchasing director, and so I grew up in a household where this was natural to me. I've always been in sales. I've always, was like the guy that would win the candy sale, thing or whatever growing up. Like, but I always hated it. I always had the idea of that used car salesman kind of a thing going on. Well, this is at the height of the economic downturn. Wanted to move back home. Nobody was hiring in the manufacturing world. And a friend of mine, was one of my best friends, worked at this place called Angie's List. And I was like, what the fuck is Angie's List? I was like, is that like Craigslist? I don't want to go work at a fucking Craigslist. Remember, this is like 2007. This is before like, I know that doesn't seem that long ago, but it was, in terms of like the digital, like everything wasn't digital then, right?
Right.
So
15
Angie's
years
List
ago. I mean, they say
it doesn't seem that long ago, but things have changed so dramatically since then, so anyway, so I'm like, what the fuck is Angie's List? So he's like, just check it out. He's like, it was one of the only places that were growing and hiring at that time, and yada yada yada. And I was like, fine, I'll go check it out. So I interviewed there. I ended up getting an opportunity to take over an account management role, where I was managing like a book of $2 million of an advertising portfolio. And I was immediately successful at it. Like, within the first quarter, I won, like, I was in the top 10%, won like quarterly trips and whatever. I ended up that first year going on the annual trip to, I think we went to Puerto Rico or something like that, for like the top 10%, like, sales earners. Anyway, I'd found a role that I loved. The company was great. And here's the kicker. I made almost like $120,000 that year. Like, right. So I'm like 23, 24 years old or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I went from making $37,000 to making like $120,000 that year. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, man, this is fucking amazing. I was like, this is great. So the next couple of years, I still made even more money, made even more money. It was inching up and inching up. Then I took over a sales team, and I made a little bit more, and I made a little bit more. By the end of the time that I was there, like, to your point, like I was making well over 150 to 175 or something like that. I was still in my late 20s, and I'm like living in everybody's life. They would think that I was living the dream. I was a top producer, running my own sales team, and I was miserable, like beyond miserable. The money meant nothing to me. Literally, I was like, get this fucking shit out of my life. Like, I mean, I didn't want it. Like, yes, it helped me to transform my life. I got married. I bought my first home, like whatever it was, like, we bought some cars, but none of them made me happy. Matter of fact, I was so fucking miserable, like, that I was having panic attacks. And I was like, I literally could not even get out of it. I remember calling my grandmother one day, and I was like, Grandma, I don't know what to do. I'm so sad right now. And it's not because I'm sad outside of work. It's like every day that I have to go walk into that office again, I'm like, I something just feels like it's dying inside of me. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And she gave me this like long story about, about her life when she was younger, and she had a similar thing. She was like, you know what? I went home one day and I told my grandfather the same thing, her husband. And she was like, I can't go back to this place again. He was like, just quit. It's fine. Like, and she's like, really? She's like, don't we need the money? He's like, no, just quit. And she was like, oh my God, thank God. And so she just quit, and like, it changed her life. Actually, she was like, she ended up, anyway, I'm going on this long story about this stuff, but to illustrate, like, just my own visual life of money mattered nothing. I won all the awards. I had all the carrots that you could possibly get at this particular job. I had maxed out my carrots. And like, honestly, even if you gave me double the amount of money, I don't think I could have stayed there. I mean, I was so miserable that I was like, it was starting to affect my home life. Like I would come home every night. I would just just zone out, stare at the screen, like, and like just wish that I didn't have to get up the next day, to go do the same thing over and over and over again. It was fucking sad. And I feel sad even talking about this, because it's like, on the outside, you would think this kid's 28 years old making $175,000 a year. And you're like, he owns his own home, like, runs his own sales team, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was awful.
He got a boatload of carrots and he still have a panic attack. I mean, that's strange, right? But that's the thing, it happens to almost everybody. The thing is,
you had a similar
you were happy the first time you got the check. The second time, not so much. Something if you buy a very, very expensive car. I don't know what it is, a Tesla, Ferrari, Lamborghini, whatever. Oh wow, it was so exciting first time. Second time, and then that car gonna sit in the garage. That's all.
Oh my god,
that is all. That's the thing, is that's the carrots. But if you say, let's say I'm gonna get a dog, right? The dog can cost me a boatload of money, but it's like it cost me money with the vets, the bill, of the food, the vaccine, and you name it, all sort of. But it cost me a boatload of money. Not giving me boatload of carrots, but I have to give people a boatload of carrots. And even then, I would rather pick the dog than some kind of a job that I don't want to, because I want the dog. I don't want to do the thing I don't want to do. So you make a great
Homo
point.
puppy.
It's like it's the thing that you don't want to do. There is nothing that can compensate for you trying to give away that urge or that calling to do something else.
The essence of you.
The essence of you. Yeah,
Right.
you're not being you. For people to say, hey, I'll pay you, $1 million for you to be someone else, not you, right? You cannot do that long term. You can probably do that, short term, depending on how much that money is worth to you, but nothing worth more than you being you. No one is better at being you than you. And like I say, somebody can pay you $1 billion, but even then, it don't last for a short term. It doesn't last forever. It just doesn't, because that essence of you, it is so valuable and so heavy that if you put it on a scale, it's going to be lopsided, because whatever you put on it, it's not going to be enough to kind of tilt that scale up.
Right. Yep.
Like it's like one of those like compact mass of a giant galaxy packed into a little crystal ball, like in Men in Black, the Orion's belt, the galaxy in Orion's belt, right?
Yeah.
You pack all that that much stuff is in that essence, versus anything else, any kind of amount of money, any kind of amount of carrots can put on a counterweight of that balance.
100%. I mean, it reminds me of Andre Agassi's story, right? When he gets his whole life, he never really loved tennis, but he was like, what, if I'm going to play tennis, I want to be world's number one, right? Like that was his number, that was his main goal. And the day that he won, I think he said he won the French Open or something like that, or whatever his first major that he was, he ended up, getting the number one overall ranking in the world at the end of the year. And he said he was walking around Paris, and and he was like, this is it. This is what I worked so hard. Like, this is miserable. this is nothing. Like, I mean, it was right. Because he was playing for carrots, and then when he realized, like, these carrots don't matter.
The carrot wasn't on that.
Like, right. And then he went on the downward spiral. It's like, like there's so many people. You see this happen with Olympians all the time, right? They set this insane goal. Like, I'm going to work 8 years of my life and grind away every single morning for that one chance to win that one gold medal. And then when I win that gold medal, then they're like, what's next? Like,
not even what's next. It's just like the realizations that what you had envisioned you will get, and how happy you are wasn't connecting. Because when you standing on a podium and you get the gold medal, it's like, well, it's less than what I expected. Right. And it's always short of what you had envisioned. You work hard because you were envisioning something grand, and when you achieve it, it's like well, not
wah,
much.
wah, wah,
Wah,
like
wah.
yeah,
And
I
so,
mean, it's
and then that
no one
basically
really
give you
cares.
it basically drove you into this depression mode. And
Yeah,
then the what's next is like, oh shit, I spent my whole entire life doing this. I know nothing else. So what's
right.
next for me is like, it's question marks. So you get even more depressed because the realization of whatever you achieved wasn't what you expected, and now you had become more of a like a buyer's remorse, where you say, well, I spent so much time doing this for the last almost a decade or more than a decade, to some people, that they cannot do anything else. Like, okay, I can't sell because all these things has changed. I can't do computer programming because the language I knew was dead and obsolete, or I can't do whatever because I have no idea how things complete everything's changed. And so
Right.
that, man, if you were in somebody else in that person's shoes, how do you feel? Completely depressed.
Yeah,
You are
devastated. Yeah,
completely lost,
right.
right? Not only that you did not get the euphoria that you had hoped for.
You did for 3 days. The book
Not really.
Competitive
Not
Buddha.
really.
No,
I
no,
think
it's
it's
you get it for
always
three
up to
days.
it's just like this. It's like what was it? You know how it's the anticipation? It has
Right.
to give you the most gratifying feeling. But when
Yeah.
you, let's say, there's, let's say I'm waiting for a hamburger. Like, say I'll go to McDonald's. It smells so good. I was in line, and the anticipation of getting the hamburger, the Big Mac, right? It is so good and so salivating. And then the moment you bite into it, yeah,
That's
that's
gross.
a
Yeah.
feeling. That's what I'm saying to
Right.
you.
Right.
And it happens in other things too, whether that's a some kind of a prize you win at a carnival or whatever. It gets to that point where it's like, the anticipation was much higher than what I actually felt when I actually bite into that Big Mac. And so for these people, it's like the anticipation of getting from second to first, that moment, that spit moment. It's like, hey, I got it. But the moment you got the gold medal, it's like, yeah, you see, when
Yeah.
you see all those Olympians when they are on this podium, how do they feel? How do they look like they feel?
They don't look
They don't
some
look
of them
excited.
some of them look genuinely excited right afterwards. Some of them do. But I'm saying even that feeling fades within
No.
like 2 to 3 days.
I mean, the thing is, to be
But
fair, it's better than depressed, right?
right,
But
right,
it's
right,
not like the most elated point in their career, right? It's
right.
not the most elated. The most elated uh point in the time was the moment they got,
Training. It was
they
yeah,
would
no, it was
announce, hey, you have the highest score. They were like crying and
right.
jumping and emotional. You can tell right then, right there. That's the moment that they waited for. But the moment they got the gold medal, and
Oh, I see what you're saying.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah,
Right.
I'm a gold
It's
medalist.
over. Yeah. Right.
Right. And so that's
Right.
the thing is the anticipation right up to this last moment is the highest euphoria you get. But
Right.
after that, it's like the disappointment and downhill. I mean, it's still higher than zero, but it's
Right.
less than what you expected, less than what you had imagined you would get. And so
I'm with you 100%. Yeah.
basically gives you a downward kind of like,
Oh yeah. It's all downhill from there for the most part. I mean,
is
like
when we go down here, it takes the momentum.
right.
The momentum carries you down, and everything you do is continue to go down. It's harder for you to buck the down momentum, right? So
Right.
you need something very forceful to even buck that kind of trend. Because even if you give him a gold medal, or if you give him an endorsement, it's like nothing. Like he doesn't feel happier than he was like when he had a Big Mac. Let's say
Right.
Michael Phelps.
Right.
Like, okay, you want a model. I'm gonna give you endorsement. I'm gonna give you $1 million. You can be whatever you want. I say, okay, yeah.
Right.
Shoes, okay, yeah. Like
Right.
it's not the euphoria that they want. They
Right.
get these endorsements. Yeah, they get the watches endorsement. They get the jewelry endorsement. They get like the shoe endorsement. They get the clothing endorsement. Right.
Right.
This is what they had hoped for, but the moment they signed, it wasn't as good.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, it's good. It's better than nothing, better than what they when no one has anything,
Right.
but it's not the same expectation. And because of the differences, it is easy for this Olympian to go down to a depression,
For
right?
sure.
Because he has to do something different to compensate for that depression downward.
Well, their identity is wrapped up in the outcome, right? Like, I mean, it's like I remember there was this. I won't name names on this one just because it's kind of a sensitive topic, but there was this lady that used to be I forget what her role was, maybe like VP of account management or VP of sales or something like that at Angie List, and she was a pretty high ranking person. A lot of people. She was an important person there. I mean, she'd been there a really long time. She had done a lot of great work. A lot of people knew her, and she was an important part of that culture. She was somebody that mattered at Angie's List, right? And one day that all came to an end. She got let go of her job, and then last that I heard, I've heard this from multiple people, she's been a struggling alcoholic ever since then, and they've gone and have conversations with her multiple times, and she was just like, she's visibly expressed this to them. This is secondhand through friends of mine telling me, when they would go talk to her and stuff like that, that she was like, I just don't know how to get back to the person that I was, like, meaning like the person that everybody knew, the leader, the know what I mean? Like it was like that was what mattered. That identity, that job, that title, that role, the money you made, whatever. The outcomes were what mattered to her. That was what her identity was.
It's all about that contrast, right? It's that she achieved something great, and now she was no longer that person.
Right.
So the only way for her to go is down, unless you can find something better and more forcefully to compensate for that downward spiral. It's just
right, which is
it's just
that's
like,
what a purpose is for.
right.
That's it. Like the Andre Agassi, scenario is the same thing, right? Where he hit this downward spiral, and then thank God he eventually found a purpose and leveled himself out, and then continued to win. But now when he won, it was like, I'm winning for this. Like, I'm winning. Yes. I'm not winning for me. I don't care. Like, you could shower me with money, shower me with trophies, whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm doing this for this now. Right. I have a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm aligned with that. That's when it becomes meaningful work, right? Like, that's when he chose it.
And that's the thing is, the meaningful work is like the fire that doesn't diminishes.
No,
but
I mean, look at us.
It diminishes so quickly. It's like an exponential diminishing curve.
100%. Like, I mean, I find it hilarious that you and I have been co-founders, for 2.5 years now on this project, or two plus years, however long it's been, and we haven't produced a single dime. As a matter of fact, we've spent money.
We spent money.
Right. Like, and yet we're still going at this stronger and harder than ever before. Like, if you went to any investor and said, hey, give me 2.5 years and I'm going to spend a little bit of money, and I won't give you a single even drip of an idea yet of how we're going to make more money out of this whole entire collaboration, they would go, what the fuck are you smoking? I'm not giving you shit. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you don't understand. Like, we're doing some really important stuff. We're doing some meaningful things that we're not going to quit. And they're like, well, I don't care. Like, I mean, why would anybody ever give us money? They would never. I would never give me money unless now that I understand what we understand, I'd be like, oh shit, I'm giving those people money. I'm like, I don't care. Don't. That's a long-term investment. That's right. That's when you get your late bloomer status someday. Where people are like, oh, I didn't see that coming. You guys are 50 years old, and how'd you guys build that? Well, like, we've been doing this shit every single fucking day for 10 years, and like, this is just what ended up coming out of this. Like, I mean, but like, I find it hilarious that you and I have been doing this, working harder than I've ever worked on a project for anybody in my life with, and we've produced $0. Like, zero, like less than zero, negative.
Yeah, we spend money.
Right.
And like I said, I don't count the days. Right. It just one day, I just looking forward to have a conversation that is meaningful. It's lifts your spirit, because it fits you. It fits your essence, right? When it fits your essence, the I guess, I don't know what you call it though. It's not you can call it joy or like I say, it feels right.
Right.
Whatever that feeling is, it feels right. When it feels right, you are at
Aligned.
peace with
Feels
yourself.
aligned.
Aligned, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
at peace with yourself, you don't worry about this, you don't worry about that, you don't think about,
I don't care how many people watch this. I don't care how many people
right.
read this.
You don't
Reflect.
exactly,
I don't
right? So
care.
you are so at peace with yourself that nothing else matters. And
Right.
you only need to enjoy the conversations and the company that you have with you, and that all that matters to you. And when you have that, you feel like that part of you, that memory, it is memorable and it sinks in and it makes sense to you and you feel good for the rest of the day. There's certain conversation where you get into it and you get out of it pissed, or you get a
Right.
conversation, you get into it and you get out of it exhausted. So
Yes.
it's the vibe. We talked about the vibe yesterday, right? The dogs can feel vibe,
Right.
and the stroke of genius, we can feel vibe. The
Yeah. Yeah.
vibe, the
Yeah.
negative
Energy.
vibe, will
Yeah.
actually create you this uneasiness or this exhaustion. Because I've been to some most meetings actually. When I get out of it, I'm exhausted
Right.
because it is. I mean, you can't say, well, maybe you talk too much or talk too. No, I talk. I even talk more in this conversation than in the other conversation. But
Right.
I feel energized when I get out of this conversation versus in the other one where I'm so exhausted I have to take a nap to
Right.
recover my energy. And there is also a certain meeting where you get agitated and or you get like really depressed or you get really angry. And so to me, there are certain feeling that you want and a certain feeling that you don't.
Right.
And if you align yourself to something that means something to you, that align with your essence, then the feeling you get is the feeling that to me feels good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if "good's" the right word. It
Well, like I
feels
say, I got to use a quote
fulfilling,
because
and
it's the wording that it's gonna stumble and we're gonna stumble on
well,
just
because
because.
this goes to the eat the frog versus eat the cake, right? We're not saying you actually should eat cake. We're saying turn your frog into a cake, right? Like, but
Uh-huh.
you're still doing frog activities, right? You know, like we're still doing stuff that like is our quad two activities that
No,
are
it's just like, I have an acquired taste for a frog and I'm eating frog. I mean, you look
right,
at
and it
me.
tastes like cake.
Yeah, I like the taste of the frog or whatever it is.
Frog
Like
cake.
people say, well, I don't like coffee, right? For me, I drink my coffee black. When I used to drink it, I drink it black. When people say, how can you drink it black? It's so bitter,
Yeah,
but
it is.
that's
That
how
is
I
cool.
like it. I
Right.
I I jug it like like water. I would prefer coffee, black coffee, like not even like coffee, but dark coffee, like the espresso in a
Ah,
mug, right? I drink them, and most people wouldn't like it, but I
yeah.
like it, right? To
Right.
me, that's an analogy to eating a frog. I like eating that frog. For
Right.
example, peppers, right? I love peppers. I eat like the spiciest pepper, right?
Right.
Some people can't eat it. Like they can't take it. It just ruined their meal. It makes
Yep.
my meal, right? And so the thing is, when you are affinity for something, right? It seems to other people that you're eating a frog,
Right.
but to you, you're eating a cake because that's what you want to eat. So it's back to the carrots and the sticks, right? It's either carrot sticks or the thing that you want to, whatever you want to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be cake. It could be frog. It could be Cheerios. It could be whatever. It could be
Right.
broccolis or cauliflower, whatever it is. Like one of my daughter loves broccoli, right?
Right.
She just does. She just does. She just like broccoli. So to
Right.
her, broccoli is her
Cake.
dessert. But other people say, hey, I
Right.
want sugar or whatever. And so it's just dependent on what it is that you're aligned to. When you're aligned to the want to, it makes sense. And whatever that feeling is, I'll reserve that word for whoever wants to
I'll
make
call
it
I'll call it fulfilling. I'll call it
fulfilling.
just fulfilling. Yeah.
Well,
You
but
feel.
well, you know what
Yeah.
I mean. Everyone has
Yeah.
their own word, and
Right.
each word may trigger a different emotion, different image for themselves. So I don't want to give you the word. That's why I quote. Say for me, that feeling is like, hey, I prefer this feeling over the other feeling, right?
Right.
Do you want to be angry all the time? Do you want to be depressed all the time?
No.
Do you want to be agitated all the time? Do you want to be tired all the time?
Nope.
That's what I'm
Nope.
saying. Hey, do you want to be energized or you want to be exhausted? I mean, right?
I mean, yeah.
So most people want to be energized and not exhausted,
Right.
because I hate being exhausted, because it just
Sucks.
it's
It
exactly.
just sucks.
But
I
why
mean,
does it suck? We know it sucks, but why does it suck?
because you haven't you're lethargic, you're slow,
But
your
why
brain
does it
isn't
suck?
working.
Why does it suck?
It just does.
Lethargic, it's just a feeling. Why? Why does it suck?
I don't know.
Because it's a quote unquote bad feeling versus
Right.
not wanting feeling and wanting feeling, right? The feeling you
Right.
want, the feeling you don't want. That's why I'm calling it. You can call it whatever word you want, but the
Yep.
feeling that I want is, I don't want the lethargic, the exhaustion, the angry, the depressed, the sadness. I want the other one where you talk about energized, the joy, the happy, the
Right. Aligned.
whatever you want to call it. But that's what I'm saying, the wanting feeling versus the not wanting feeling,
Right.
the positive feeling versus the negative feelings, whatever you want to label them.
It's see, bringing this whole thing full circle to the reflection, like no one can do that but you. Like, so my job as a leader of this next team of you and I with Clubany, of anybody that you come across in your life, is to understand what makes that feeling happen, help them to peel back the layers as to why that exists in the first place, to find that core, that purpose, that there's something behind that. There's a value, there's a purpose, there's something that makes your daughter like
it's
broccoli
finding
versus,
alignment, right?
Right. It's finding alignment.
It's
right?
finding who you are as a person, like
your unique
how
essence.
to be your best self, knowing yourself first to be your best self,
right.
And finding that aligns to that essence of yourself.
And that's what I call the human approach. Yes. That's it's because like carrots and sticks will never work. Yes, you can crack a horse whip and you get him to run a little bit faster, but eventually that horse is going to throw you off and you're going to be like, fuck you, don't fucking whip me ever again. Like, I'm tired of this shit. Like, yes, we won the race, but I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just miserable in this stupid thing. You make me train every day, cramped, you're giving me shit oats to eat all day long. I just want to go, I'm a free range horse. Like, I just want to be out there with my buddies and jumping over fences and stuff. Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, this horse is like, I'm done with this shit. Right. Like, right. And that's what happens to all of us. Like, I mean, eventually when you,
that's why people quit all the time, because they don't like their job, and
it's not sustainable. I mean, it's so stupid to even think that we think that this works. Like, it's just not a sustainable methodology to get anybody to do anything for a long period of time. But here's the problem: is we don't have these people. The way that this system has been set up is they don't have time. Like, this is my biggest fear of going into this next role is like, I know what we talk about every single day and what we've been doing and why I even chose to do this role. I know we can get great results because we've done it, right? But here's my concern is, will the business give me the time to go do that, right? Like,
I mean, you are bucking the trend. You're bucking the trend. The trend is saying, hey, this is how society works, and we're telling them to go the opposite of the whole trend generations. I mean, everything is trending that way, and people are gonna ridicule you, and they're gonna watch you, and they're going to scrutinize every single thing you do.
For sure, and they should, because they're paying me a lot of money, and that's the way that the business model.
But they don't like, scrutinize the other people. Like I say, somebody lose $1 billion, like Yahoo CEO or Google CEO or whoever, right? Or Enron, Jeff Skilling or whoever, right? Billions of dollars. Oh yeah, because I did my best. No one scrutinized him. No one scrutinized her. I say, oh, that's just the way the economy is. They blame on something else. But you can do 1,000 things right, but because you go against the grain, and you do one thing, just a tiny insignificant thing that is negative, they're gonna say, yeah, you see, I told you, you're gonna fail. Right. But the other guy can do like 1,000 wrong. This is what society is, basically we picked the size where it matters, but because the trend is against you, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a lot of people who's gonna scrutinize you, just gonna ridicule you just because you go against the grain. That's just the way logic works.
I couldn't agree more, and this is also one of the reasons why I'm so convinced that the Clubany model will work someday. Like it, because I know that it's sustainable. Like I mean, this is why I know that it will work. I mean, like we could spend 2.5 years without making a single dime, without even understanding if there's even a single dime on the horizon of what we're trying to do, and I don't care. Like, and you don't care. Like, but what I
That's
do
why
know,
that's why it's sustainable, because
exactly.
you don't need anything to push you.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying is that this our own experiment
There's no
of being
carrots,
able to
there's no
sustain
carrots,
this.
and there's no
There's
sticks,
no
but it's
none
still
at all.
going. So it cannot be like either carrot, sticks, and meaning, right? So
Right.
there's no carrots because we're not getting paid. I mean, no one's gonna fire us. We don't do it, right?
Right.
Right. So what else is there? There's only meaningful left, right? There's only
Right.
meaning left that is in this formula,
Right.
right? So that's why it's sustainable, because, well, we don't make any money. We spend money. We don't. No one's gonna force us to do it, but we did it. So, but we continue to do it. So what can stop
What's
it from,
next? Right.
right?
Right.
What will stop it?
Right.
The
And
only
not
thing
only
that stop it, it doesn't have the meaningful alignment. That's the only thing. Because if
exactly.
it's meaningful, this is like for you. You play tennis all your life. You go and you pay for a club membership. You play for court fees, and you
Right.
play for a string, for the
Rackets,
that
balls, whatever. The ball machine.
the ball
You know.
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ball
Yeah.
machine. Man, it costs you a boatload of money. The time
Oh yeah.
you go to different places to watch the match, and
Oh yeah.
I don't know, tons of stuff. You spend a boatload of carrots for the stuff, but you still doing it.
Right.
You're
And I
still
love
doing
it.
it because you
I mean,
want to.
and
That's the
yeah.
point. It's wanting to. It's different because, I mean, you actually, actually take out the carrot that you got from your reserve, and you actually put it into something that you want to. It's just like for me, I bought like 10 books today just
Right.
because.
I did that 2 days ago. Actually, I went on a spree because I was running out of books. I just finished this book called Clanlands, The
Mm,
Fifth Vital. This book called The Fifth Vital, which is about this guy who was an opioid addict, and it was like his
mm,
life as a drug addict, and it was really interesting. The Fifth Vital stands for pain is the fifth vital that was identified by the American Drug Association or the ADA or whoever, like the national drug or the
the
national
FDA,
doctors. No, the doctors, like the doctors, like the American Doctors Association or whatever that. Anyway, it doesn't.
USMLE.
No. And then I bought A Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela,
Uh-huh.
his memoir. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. The River of Doubt, which is a book about Teddy Roosevelt
Hmm.
traveling down the Amazon River down to this one tributary that was like a really scary tributary. Wine and War, a book about the French people in World War II saving their best wine from the Germans. This book called The Artist's Journey by Stephen Pressfield. I went on a spree yesterday too. I was like, man, all these sound really interesting. I'm just buy,
Yeah, I
right?
can buy.
But I don't
Okay.
question it anymore because I'm like, why would I question that? Like, I mean, this is like this is I get joy out of it, and then I get to write about it, which gives me joy, and I get to do stuff with my daughter with this stuff, and then I get to go share these thoughts with you, and then we get to have conversations about it and inspire other people. Hopefully, I mean, like all these things snowball together. There's
Yeah,
a
but
logic
to
to
other
all this,
people, this is like the fraud, right? People don't
right?
want to read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but majority of the people don't read.
I
Because
mean,
I know myself, because I told you I did not read a
it
single
should.
book.
The question shouldn't be read. It should be the majority of people don't learn, and I don't know that that's true. I think that they learn in their own way. Like we're constantly learning on the internet. We're learning about Kim Kardashian. We're learning about Adam
Well,
Levine
but
having an
the thing
affair.
is,
We're learning
in
about
the
the
book
economy.
Humankind, in the beginning, he was saying a quote that I really agree with. It's like, news to your brain is like sugar to your body,
Yeah, yeah. It's like
right?
it's
And it
awful.
reminds me of the saying, you are what you eat, right? You
Right.
think what you see and what you read.
What you
Because
consume.
if
Yeah, for
you
sure.
read about the news is all about embellishing a negative.
Right.
You are going to think a negative. and we look at all the people right now in a socialized modern world who enjoy a lot of perks and benefit are depressed.
Right.
They are depressed because I don't know why. Because
They're consuming garbage every day.
they're consuming this kind of garbage, and
yeah, it's like it's like saying people are fat. They're eating bad shit for them, you know? Like, I mean, yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm saying is people have the best standard of living today, like by far 100x than somebody in the 1930 or 1940, right? Even, we're talking about a lot, but more people now are depressed than people in the 1920, 1930. And in the 1920, 1930, you're talking about the market crash and all that. People are like, don't have food to eat, and they still have the heads on their heads on their shoulders. And these guys over here is like, oh, the economy is down.
Right.
I only have like $1 million. Like, woo-hoo.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
my parents were I was at dinner with them on Sunday, and they were telling me about I think somebody brought up like the interest rates were going up or something like that, and
interest rate going up to what, like 3%
or something, right? Yeah, so
it's like
so my
3%. You know how much
this is what my dad goes. He goes, you know how much the first loan mortgage on our first home was? They bought it in 1979 or something like that. And I go, no, I have no idea. And they're like it was like 18%, and we were like ecstatic to get an 18% loan at that point in time. And then my aunt was at the table, and she was like, you know how much my first loan was? She was like, it was like something astronomical too. And my grandmother was like, I had to she was there, and she's lived in the same house since like 1950 something or whatever. And she goes, your grandfather and I, we had to borrow $300 from your great grandfather, and to pay our down payment on our home, because we couldn't afford that. They're like, $300 was a lot of money back then. And I was like, what do you? I was like, that's insane. Like, I mean, I literally spent $800 on that tennis ball machine, and that was what my grandmother and grandfather had to take a loan out for to go buy their first house, that she still lives in to this day. Like, I mean, it's all relative, right?
It's all relative because like back in 1983, it was like 18.6%.
Yeah.
Right. That's 18.61%. That's like,
right.
I mean, that's talking about the interest rates that people get for like a standard versus like some people, because right now, let's say the average is like 3%, and the banks are charging the borrowers, like, a mortgage, whatever, like 6%. So they probably make double. That means that the 18% back then, some people are getting 18%, some people getting like 20%, 20%, 21, 20, even 25. Somebody may get 30%.
It's like credit cards, I mean, like for a mortgage.
And so it's like people are crying because of the 3%. It's like the Fed say, hey, we had 0% interest for so long, right? And the banks borrow 0% interest, and they lend to the borrower at 3%, right? Like 3% is like you're making money, but if you calculate inflation, you're actually making money by borrowing money. And now they raise it 6%, right? Because so now the interest rate on mortgages from the banks to the borrower is 6%. Right. It's like 5.75, 6%. So they raise it. So
it's astronomical.
Like, it's astronomical. People are like going
for the 2.75, that it was like a year ago. Right.
Like people say, well, I would kill to have a 6% interest rate.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, my parents, like legitimately, I mean, I guess my parents' first mortgage was like 18% or something like that. And they were like, we didn't have bad credit. Like we just that was just what it was,
It was.
But
that's
anyway,
what I'm saying is people have a lot of benefits and perks nowadays, but yet they are consuming these toxic and negative information. So learning is not the same thing as just like eating, right? Eating anything and arbitrary eating everything isn't good for your health. So taking information and learning things arbitrarily isn't good for your brain.
So that's why I was saying your question should be, do people learn? And I would say, without a doubt, yes. It's what are they learning? Because it's like saying, do people eat? Yes, without a doubt, they eat. They eat a lot. They just eat.
But they're obese. Diabetes.
Right. So, but they're not following any sort of a concentrated learning, right? Like these are
Mm.
that's the difference. In my personal opinion is like that's why I love books. This is why I found such amazing. This is why this feeds my creativity, because I can focus on one topic with one person, and like you said, condensing a lifetime's worth of work down to a couple hundred pages or something like that of their life story, where I can just sit and consume it and learn it,
Yeah, I mean, you read
and
one book, you're gaining 50, 60 years of experience from somebody. Just basically
right,
just download
dump it in
their
their
brain
head.
into
Yeah,
you.
like,
Not only
right,
that, download the information, they actually orchestrate information in a cohesive and logical
right,
manner and hand it to you in 1 to 2 hours. Okay,
right.
and that is, if you can't fathom that concept, right, then don't go any further until you get it. Study that. So when
Yes.
I look at the books and I see the books I like, I buy, buy,
Right,
right?
right. Who cares how long they are? I mean, who gives a shit? The longer the better at that point in time, because then it's like, if it's a good book, I mean, and you're enjoying
Usually, the thing
the
is for
message,
me,
then great.
usually I look for books that's like 10 hours or 20 hours long.
Right. I mean, because it's a lot of condensing and distilling down, and if it's a good
I
book,
mean,
and
when I look
it's
at
all
the
worth it.
unabridged version and abridged version, I get the unabridged version because
Right.
I think is I want the details. So, yes, there are a lot of books where they introduce a concept and then they give example after example after example, right? And for me, because if I'm interested in that topic, the example will give me a better understanding more as you introduce more examples. So
Right.
I will get the unabridged versions. I mean, abridged is fine. If you like the topic, then I would suggest you go get the unabridged one. Yes,
Right.
like the book uh Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, right?
Mhm.
Or Influence by Robert Cialdini. There is an abridged version and an unabridged version, right?
Right.
So in the abridged version, he just shorten a bunch of examples and you know kind of his what you call it, evidence, right? He just
Mhm.
shorten it versus he explained the whole thing. So depending on what kind of topic that you're interested in, if you're interested in something, the more you're exposed to, then that allows your brain to take in and marinate the idea and understand
Yes.
it at a deeper level.
Yeah. 100%. I think my final thought on that topic was in that book I just finished with. Look, he was comparing his life when he was like a street dealer, like he was like a hustler basically when he was in his late teens, and he was like, look, all day long we would try to turn like whatever the currency is in South Africa. Let's just call it a dollar. It was like we would try to turn $1 into like $2. Like that
Hmm.
was like what we worked our asses off to like trade this $1 for this product to go find this crackhead to go do this with this. Like
Hmm.
it was like we would work our butt off every day. Every day we were hustling to turn our $10 into $20 or whatever it was, right? And he was like, and we did it like every single day, but it was like we were only making $10. He goes, he compared that to he was like, that was when I had an epiphany, because he goes, he compared that to like knowledge on the internet. Like you could read all day long, like
Hmm.
articles on the internet, but that doesn't mean you learn shit. You're going nowhere. It's like it's just a hamster wheel of going nowhere. Like I mean, there's no vision behind it. There's no purpose behind it. There's no whatever. I mean, you are literally just at the whim of an algorithm and hustling all day long. And you could say, yeah, I learned all day long. I watch Netflix. I watch documentaries that come up on the History Channel or whatever, or I watch, I mean, YouTube or what. I mean, sure, but like these are. I'm not saying you can't learn on those things, but like if you have to be focused. Like you have to go navigate through these things and weed out the crap and find the stuff that you want to learn.
Right. I mean, that's why
Otherwise,
this book to
worthless.
me is one of my favorite books, because this book is basically a go against the trend that everybody is thinking. Everybody say,
Yeah,
humans are
it's
inherently
not
evil. It's even in the Bible.
right.
It's like
Yeah,
humans are, are inherently evil. But the thing is, this guy say, well, I beg to differ, and here's why. And that's just why I like it, because this is something you can learn, right? You can learn
yeah,
from this. And yeah, fine. Let's go read Hobbes, right? And see what he said and see if there's any evidence of validity in his argument. But read this book and say, well, why this guy say that, human are kind? And his evidence to me, I agree with. I
Yeah.
agree with the evidence, and because I see some of it as well.
Well, I feel it. I mean, it's not even I agree with it. I live it every single day.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I don't look at around and go, I'm gonna kill that motherfucker. Like, I go, how can I go help this person? Like, I mean, like, it is not even in. I've never even punched anybody in my life, let alone think about, like, if my home got blown up tomorrow and like all my neighbors were, we were struggling for food, I would still try to help them. I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I have a weird feeling that I
But
would
I'm
want to
not going.
cooperate.
But I'm not go. I don't have any intention to go out there and hurt somebody or
Right.
kill somebody or take advantage of somebody. Like I said, so one other thing. I mean, I know we're out of time, but one other
Yeah.
thing that I
We gotta
really
wrap.
believe the reason why people are really defensive nowadays. Like, so I want to use the word defensive because that's what people are. So when you be defensive, from the other perspective, it looks like you're being evil and negative. But it became defensive. The reason we defensive because of the trauma and the I guess the betrayal and the scams you encounter.
Mhm.
And that scam came from somebody else scammed that person, right? And so you know how in software we have a term called technical debt, right?
Mhm.
This is so when you didn't do something right, that debt get rolled forward and it get compounded over it. So
Right.
basically along like the beginning when some disagreement started, that disagreement was never reconciled. That thing is going to compile and pile on and earning compound
Right.
interest. So eventually now everybody is become defensive because they don't want to get hurt,
Right.
right? They don't want to go out there and like be bad to people, but they want to be defensive because they don't want to get hurt because the debt that they will incur because somebody make a mistake or some kind of miscommunications that get passed on from generation to generation. So now everybody is being very self-aware and self-defense in
Yeah.
terms of okay, should I let this guy cut me in front because if he does, then something else can happen to me. It's not about I don't want that person to be in in front of me. It's just that I don't want to be taken advantage of. So to
Right.
me, this is how people are feeling, and the reason I think is because of that compounding of the misunderstanding
It's
over
trauma
the
debt.
years, over the generations. It compounded to this big aura of negativity.
Call it trauma debt, instead of
Mm-hmm.
technical debt. It's
Yeah.
like trauma debt,
Yes.
because it does get passed on. Trauma gets passed on from generation to generation to generation, for sure. I mean, like, look at uh you know African Americans or whatever. I mean, we still talk about stuff like that trauma of slavery has been still reverberates today.
Mm-hmm.
The trauma of child abuse on somebody reverberates. Sexual abuse reverberates. I mean, it's like it's trauma just continues to drive more trauma, down the
Yeah,
road
it
until somebody
compounds.
decides to
It
stop it.
compounds
It
from
can,
from
yeah.
from
Uh,
generation to generation. So there's a big trauma debt that is surrounding us like an aura of negativity, like a dark cloud cover.
yeah. I mean, I will end it on this for my comments. I do find some value in TikTok every once in a while whenever I need like just 10 minutes of like zoning out and flipping through some videos or
I
whatever.
actually love TikTok because
It's a good platform. I enjoy
no,
it.
because
Sorry. No.
I learn a lot from TikTok. It just depends on. So TikTok is like those algorithms because it's like it will show you the videos that you watch
Yeah,
more
I
of.
I get a ton of tennis videos, like,
Right,
and which is
exactly.
great.
See,
Yeah,
I get no
right,
tennis
right,
video.
right. Yeah,
I get no tennis video, but I get
I get a
these
ton.
like lessons and tricks and whatever. I mean, I learn a
Right.
ton and I love it. For me, it's like I go on there. I go on there like maybe an hour a day now, just
Right.
because whenever I have time, because I would learn a lot because people would distill the things they've learned, like some kind of an aha, right? An aha that they had, right? And they
Yeah.
will share it. And because of that, right? It's really, really good. I mean, in 1 hour, I could learn a whole lot of stuff.
I agree.
A
I mean,
lot of stuff.
I actually find value in this platform as well, and I don't know. I'm just kind of exploring it in general, but I came across this really funny TikTok video of this couple that was they were in their home. They looked like they're like in their mid 30s. They're wearing a mask, and they see this guy walking up the driveway, And the caption was, what it's like when Californians move to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy's walking up in a cowboy hat and cowboy shirt on and jeans and boots and whatever. And this couple is like freaking out. They're like, "Oh my God, who's this guy? Get your phone out, record this. Like, who's this guy coming to our door?" So the guy knocks on the door and he's like, "Howdy," and they're like, "What do you want? Like, what do you want?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't want any." He's like, I'm just your neighbor Tim. Just wanted to stop by and say howdy and introduce myself. And they go, why would you do that? And he was like, they're like, he goes, "Let me guess, you guys are from California." And they go, what gave it away? And he goes, "Well, I did see your license plate as I was walking up the driveway, but the fact that you're indoors with yourselves and wearing masks in 2022, that's a pretty big giveaway as well. And the fact that you're, freaking out when somebody's coming." Anyway, they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." They're like, we're just so used to when people come up on our lawn, they're either trying to rob us, defecate on our lawn, or something else, or all the above,
Yes.
And he goes, "Oh, that's understandable. I'm just here to say, just welcome to the neighborhood, and again, howdy." And he starts to walk out, and he turns around and he has a little gun on his side holster, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's got a gun! Get your camera out! Call the cops!" And the guy goes, "Whoa!" He's like, "Guys, this is just everybody. Just so you know, everybody in Texas has a gun down here. You're gonna have to get used to that." And the woman goes, "God, I don't want to. Why am I here? The bugs are so big, and the weather's so hot." They're like, "Let's just go back to California." Anyway, it was just really funny because it was very true. It was like, anyway, it was funny. The trauma gets carried on is what I was trying to get at there.
Traumatic debt.
When a nice guy is just walking up to say howdy,
right.
and, good trusty neighbor or something along those lines, and the trauma.
Southern hospitality went under scrutiny.
Yeah, it's because they came from such a shit environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would be traumatized too if I lived in LA. And I mean, hell, used to go to San Francisco all the time, and I'm kind of traumatized from being there. I mean, you walk out, there's needles all over the street. There's homeless people that are aggressive at you when you come out of your anywhere in the district. It smells like shit. There's piss on the streets. There's shit on the streets. It's like what if I lived in that every day, I'd be like this. And I came to some other city, I would be like, I'd be on watch. This person's probably some junkie, heroin strung out addict or whatever, or I don't know. I mean, it would definitely traumatize me. All right, yeah. We got to put a pin on this one. We've been on this is our longest one ever. So awesome. All right. Well, the question we can leave with you all is what motivates you more? Carrots, sticks, or meaning or purpose? I guess you can throw that in there as well. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you're still watching, even though this is a really long one. But thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow for part 4.
Part 4. Yep. See ya.